All right, Jesse on fire. Welcome back. So, I got a pretty significant follow-up to the coverage that I did yesterday about the Conor McGregor verdict in his civil trial. There's some new information out that relates to an attack that happened on the accuser and her partner. I don't know if they're like engaged or their boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. I'm going to refer to him as her fiance. And I am going to also discuss another piece of information that I found. I covered this particular thing in the video that Gabrielle and I did on Play with Matches yesterday about this, which, in my opinion, is, I don't know, at least I think it's the best coverage I've done on the topic, just because it's interesting, like when you're talking about assault like this, to have like a girl to discuss with, because I always just basically go, okay, if she is questioning a narrative, then that means there are questions to be had. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think we did a great video on that yesterday. And I again, will give massive credit to True Jordy, because he did a video just covering all of the details of the case, which, in my opinion, make forming an opinion on the entire incident almost a no-brainer. If you take 40 minutes and you watch True Jordy's video, because he goes through every single piece of evidence in the case, I can't imagine that anybody would have a different verdict or opinion than I do. But we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about that. Well, actually, we're going to talk about this case first, but then I want to talk about the case. And then I want to tell you why I think it ties back to this. And this might not be what it looks like. Okay. What's up, chat, everybody? The sentiment here was that it was a money grab. People know, but Irish are just sick of Conor at this stage. It's a sad situation. I totally understand. And there's a lot of reason where she was, from the beginning, very likely to get a positive outcome in court, not the least of which is 8 female jurors and the extensive injuries that she has. I mean, at the end of the day, when I was talking to Gabrielle about this case initially, and we read her statement, your impression of her story is like, damn, Conor's an animal. And mostly because in hindsight, it's because the doctors verified her injuries, right? They're like, this was extensive. Like these injuries were extensive. Now, is a doctor going to lie for this girl? No. I mean, there's no reason to like call a doctor's story into question, right? And so, but at the end of the day, after that, you're like, okay, so is there any other evidence though? Is it just, the injuries are there, so you assume that it happened. She's saying that Conor did it. Why would you question the story, right? But then obviously there's why you would question the stories, because there is a massive incentive for any girl to say that Conor did this so she can get money, right? However, when you have the injuries, it supports the story, and you have to just be like, dude, what, like, you think she like violently assaulted her own vajayjay? That sounds ridiculous. You know what I mean? However, then you hear the actual facts of the case and all the evidence that's provided, and you're like, and there are a couple pieces of information that are like, I'm sorry, I don't believe you now. Like, black and white, I don't believe you. And I talked about that, about the video in one of my videos that I did previously about this. But then now that I watch True Jordy's thing and I have a full context of what was on the video and all of that, it's like, this is not true. Like, this is just not true. And I'll tell you exactly what I mean in a second. But like, here's the thing. Even if the evidence heavily supports the fact that she's not telling the truth, it's a completely different thing to get 8 females into a room and have them look at each other and say, I don't believe her. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing about these juries. It's like, people think it's just like each person kind of independently forming their own opinion. That's not how any type of situation like that's going to go. The majority of people are not decisive, right? I would say that in my community, a lot, like all you guys, me, and other people that I'm friends with, other creators, we are way more likely to be very decisive in our own opinions and not be easily swayed. But even us, if you get into a room and someone presents a really strong argument for why this thing or that thing, I mean, that's all we do online is talk about, like in the political sphere, or what I do is you just kind of give your opinion, people listen. And if you make good points that they relate to, they're like, all right, yeah, no, I agree with that. So if you put a bunch of people into a room and it's like, okay, we have to decide whether or not he did this, and you get a really strong personality that's immovable on it, and they're like laying out their thinking through it, you're going to convince a lot of people that either you're right or they're going to go with you because they don't want to stand up to you, right? That's why in the Derek Chauvin trial, where he got convicted for the George Floyd thing, when you found out that there was a super heavy involved Black Lives Matter activist who lied when the jury pool was chosen, he completely lied about his background and left all that out. And then he got into the jury room. Like, I don't care however you think the George Floyd thing went, whether you think that Chauvin's guilty or not guilty, that should have disqualified, like they should have had a new trial, like you can't have someone on a jury that is going in there with their mind made up absolutely 100% for that exact reason, because they're going to go in there, they're going to poison the minds of the other jurors, like regardless of whether they're right or not, even if they're completely right, that defeats the entire purpose of a jury trial, right? So again, you put that logic into this situation, and it's like 8 women on the jury. You think that all 8 of them are going to be like, I don't believe her because of blah, blah, blah. I think that that's an unreasonable expectation, regardless of the fact that the evidence was overwhelming, that this was not true, right? So here's what, and I'll tell you specifically the 2 things that to me are like, yeah, I don't believe this anymore. And then I want to get to this case about the masked intruders and the stabbing. Because again, like the so masked intruders broke into their home, stabbed her boyfriend. That's the headline. That's what happened, right? So obviously everybody's default is going to be like, Conor tied in with the biggest European drug cartel. That's all his best friends are like part of the Kinahan gang, literally one of the largest and most powerful, drug or criminal organizations in Europe. So I'm sure that he sent some goons over there to scare her. They stabbed the boyfriend, that whole thing, right? Like that's what everybody's brain is going to default to. Okay. Well, after I explain what I think happened in the case, I'm going to explain why I think that there is a very likely other scenario related to this particular incident that is not that Conor sent goons there. But anyway, so here's the, okay, let me show you this first. This is not damning in terms of like just straight up, like you can't argue with this logic. But this part, if you haven't seen me and Gabrielle's video on this that I did last night, I cannot stress enough how ludicrous this is. Okay. So this is, I'm going to read you this quote. Okay. So this is, Gordon is the plaintiff's attorney. Okay. So she's, quote, he's not a man. He's a coward, a devious coward, and you should treat him for what he is. The woman, who is Nikita, the accuser, had to take several breaks in her emotional testimony as she said Conor threatened to kill her during the encounter. Okay. Listen to this fucking nonsense. McGregor put her in a chokehold several times and told her, now you know how I felt in the octagon when I tapped out 3 times, referring to the Ultimate Fighting Championship when he had to admit defeat, she said. She said she feared she was going to die. He let me go, and I remember saying I was sorry, as I felt I did nothing wrong and wanted to reassure him that I wouldn't tell anyone so he wouldn't hurt me again. She said he let blah, blah, blah. Okay, but bottom line is, okay, he put her in a chokehold and said, now you know how I felt when I had to tap out in the octagon. Do you know how stupid that is? Like that is one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever heard. And like, you think it's like, there's absolutely 0%. And like, I feel totally confident stating there is a 0% chance that Conor said that. Like, that's fucking nonsense. There's no possible. Conor's choking a girl, you know, and he's like, now you know how I felt when I was getting choked when I had to tap out in the octagon. It's fucking ludicrous. Okay. Like, and this is, it's one of those things that, yeah, of course, it's like circumstance. It's not the kind of thing that you could decide a case on. And this is not the evidence I'm talking about. This is just like something that I saw after I did my video. I'm like, yeah, right. Okay. So you think about how a person constructs a story if they're making it up, right? Like, it's like, Steve is like, I'm telling a story about Conor choking me. And she's like, Conor choking? Well, Conor got choked in the UFC. And so I could say he was like, that's how it felt when I got choked in the UFC. And that'll give this story more credibility. It's the kind of thought that a person who A, does not fight, B, does not understand anything about men at all, doesn't understand anything about combat sports, and certainly does not realize that anyone with a brain who knows anything about this is going to read that quote and go, oh, she's lying. Now, and the other thing is, okay, so she thinks Conor McGregor choke, UFC got choked. Okay. Well, Conor McGregor, okay, like, do you guys, I mean, I'm sure a large percentage of you guys train jiu-jitsu. Okay, like, dude, I choke people or get choked. How often? You know what I mean? Like getting choked or choking someone out is like as common as deciding what fucking pair of shoes I'm going to wear each day. Okay. Like, if you're choking someone, your brain's going to default to like, oh, because I lost in the UFC via choke. Like, that's what? Like, that's something your brain defaults to because you've only seen me get choked 2 times. I think there's only 2 times anyway in the UFC. You've seen me get choked twice in the UFC. That's why your liar brain defaults that. I choke people, get choked every single day. Why? Like, it's a fucking lie. It's not true. He did not say that. That's not true. Okay. It's not true. So, no, you're right. You're right. Like, Conor's ego would never allow him to say this. I 100% agree with that. Now, I don't think that's the only reason that this is obviously a lie, but that certainly is part of it. There's no man who's like a championship fighter who's going to be like domineering someone and they're like, and then turn themselves into a victim. Now you know how I felt because this totally relates to something. It's fucking nonsense. It's an absolute lie, dude. Now, here is what's the okay, so the part that is the evidence that that just absolutely disqualifies the story for real. Like, this is like circumstantial nonsense, and where I'm like, if she would lie about this, what else would she lie about? Because this is a lie, you know. Now, the other part of it, though, the part that is absolutely damning, okay, is the part where she goes to the police. She, you know, like, she has the injuries with the doctor. She goes to the police. She reports it. They obviously do an investigation and they go, yeah, there's no way we're doing we're charging him here. You don't really know why until the civil trial comes out. And it's like, now you get all these details. And so her story was all, you know, Conor did this to me, whatever. And then, like, that's like the end of her story, except it turns out that what actually happened was whatever happened with Conor happened. Conor left. She stays with the other friend because she's there with her friend, and her friend is having sex with Conor's friend. Then I think Conor and the other girl leave. This guy is going to bring her home, and then she comes on to him, and they come back to the hotel to have sex. So he has sex with her also. Okay. She never mentioned this, obviously, in her statement to the police because, like, that's not something that would ever happen in a million years if you just got sexually assaulted, right? And so her friend testified that she did not see any of the things that this girl was reporting. She didn't hear her screaming, like nothing, like none of the stuff. She didn't have bruises. Nothing that she's saying lines up with what she had witnessed. Now, again, if I'm a smart person, I obviously know Conor has tremendous resources. Like, he can get someone to say whatever for whatever money, right? I can pay them, they testify to whatever. Problem, though, is that the security footage shows the fact that they left And then her and the other guy came back, and she's like kissing his neck and like whatever. Like she's like aggressively coming on to him in the video on the way up, like in the elevator, where she is like, you know, like clearly a willing participant. Now, when I was talking about this with Gabrielle yesterday, it's like, okay, so like in a court of law, does the fact that she was obviously like aggressively trying to hook up with this guy after the supposed grape happened, like, does that mean that that didn't happen with Conor? And I'm like, yes, it does. You know, like at a certain point, you have to be able to just go, okay, yeah, it's also possible that like, you know, like someone jumped out of an airplane without a parachute and they hit trees. Like, is it possible? It's like, yeah, I guess it's possible. But yeah, no person who was on the wrong end of what she described as the crime that Conor committed is going to like be all, oh, what do I want to do with my time now? It's like, you can go home. Conor's not even there anymore. So it's like, well, you can do whatever you want. You want to go home? You know, you want to do whatever. She's like, nah, I think that I would like you to turn the car around so I can go have sex with this guy, you know, that's right here. And, you know, it's because it's on video. Like that's confirmed. And when they, you know, when they confronted her with the CCTV and all that, she straight up is like, I don't remember that. So I don't remember. And you're like, oh, is that how that goes? So you like, is that like the progression of how that works? Because as I remember it, it's generally like I'm in a blackout if I don't remember things. And then as the day goes on, I start to remember things because I'm starting to sober up, especially if she's doing blow or whatever. But in her case, she remembers this perfectly when she's with Conor, but then she doesn't even remember the time where she was on video hooking up with the other guy at the hotel hours later. It's like, she's lying, dude. Like she's lying. It's not true. If it wasn't for the video, I would not take this stance. That's the thing is like, if it was just Conor, his friend, and the girl, I would be like, Conor could have paid them. But the video directly contradicts her story. Absolutely is just like this, like, and that's a damning piece of information. It's not like she said she left the hotel at 10 and it's like, oh, you actually left at 11:30. It's like, you told us that you went home. It turns out you willingly had sex with his friend afterwards. Like, Conor's gone and you were like, nah, let's go back upstairs. Like, that's ridiculous. It's not true. Like, no person would do that. No one. You know what I mean? So, now, if you look up, I'm not taking up for Conor. I'm talking about just objectively, does this story make sense? Honestly, do you guys think that a person who had been the victim of a violent grape, like, hey, what do you want to do with the next few hours of your time? 2 hours later is going to be like, you know what I want to do is go have sex with a stranger, you know, specifically a stranger who was there when I was violently assaulted. Like, does that make sense? Because that's verified. That is exactly what she did. So I'm just saying, like, does that make sense? Now I can't explain the injuries on her. You know, it's not sticking. Look, there's a difference between me like sticking up for Conor. I'm just saying, like, this is what people are saying happened. These are the actual facts of the case. And I'm like, yeah, I don't believe her. Like, I mean, I don't think any person who's objective would go watch True Jordy's video, listen to the facts of the case, convince, or just try to convince me that a victim of a violent grape is going to just willingly be like, yeah, you know what I think I'd like to do now is have sex with his friend. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Anyway, so why is it that the video was not more important to the jury? Women already know their vote. So again, thank you for the super chat. I think that the reason that he was found liable for whatever he was found liable for, as opposed, like, again, you were asking a group of 8 women, because at the end of the day, it's all he said, she said, right? It's all he said, she said. She says this happened. Then you're like, wait, but then you willingly had sex with, and she's like, I don't remember that. I just don't remember. I don't remember that. Okay, like either way, even though it's obvious that she's lying, like you don't remember. So you remember this, but you don't remember that. Hours, like, give me a break, right? But you are asking a group of 8 women to look each other in the face and be like, I don't believe her. Which, like, I mean, you got to understand. Women are terrified to come forward with stories like this because they think people won't believe it. You know, like I have 3 daughters. The idea of like something like this happening to my kid and then people not believing her is fucking nightmare fuel. Like, believe me, I would love to live in a world where you can just believe all women. But I am way too skeptical of people to do that. Like, I'm always going to look at the incentive. And listen, let me make this perfectly clear. Absent the CCTV, here's where my brain's at. Okay. I absolutely believe that Conor beat the shit out of that girl on the boat, kicked her off. That story, I think that story happened. I don't know for sure, but I believe it. The Italian DJ that Conor just flashed on and punched in the nose out of nowhere at 3 a.m. I believe him too. You know, because I've seen a video of him flashing on Machine Gun Kelly for absolutely no reason. So absent the CCTV, I was like, oh, I can completely see this happening. Like, I don't think sober Conor would do a thing like that. But this dude, if you get him gacked out on yayo and a lot of booze, he is a live wire, man. You have no idea what he'll do. And it sounds like violence is on the table. And then maybe he just gets frustrated. And also the other thing, like, this is where my brain goes. What do all 3 of those incidents that I know about have in common? There's a hot girl involved, right? The one on the boat is a girl. The one with MGK, he's standing right next to Megan Fox. And then the one with the Italian DJ, the DJ standing right next to his wife, which is a, you know, high cheek bone structure smoke show, just like Megan Fox. So like, I'm like, okay, I mean, I don't know for sure, but to me, it seems like the common denominator is like hot girl Conor wants to have sex with and he can't. So he like attacks the dude, right? Do I know that for sure? No. Does it make sense to me that would be the thing? So of course, like, then you're like, all right, well, so that lines up. He gets frustrated and just, you know, just takes it from this girl, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not just defaulting to like, oh yeah, Conor would never do this. I'm saying, well, what facts can I verify? Because a girl is incentivized to make up a story like this. She got 250,000 euros. Like, that money's tax free. That's a lot of money, dude. That's a massive incentive to tell a story. Not to mention, we have no idea where these bruises and all that stuff came from if she did make it up. Because in my opinion, it has to be the boyfriend that did it. That did like the bruises and stuff, assuming that Conor did not do it. It has to be the boyfriend. And that's all preamble for getting into this home invasion. And I'll explain exactly what I mean. I've done a ton of blow in my life and I remember everything. The memories. That's what I've been telling. Thank you for the super chat. That's what I've been telling people that don't know. I'm like, look, the more blow you do, the less likely you're in a blackout. She's admitted she's doing blow. There's no one disputing whether or not she was doing blow. That means she's not going to black out. Like, she's not going to black out. I'm sorry. That's not a thing. It turns your brain on, not off. The booze shuts your brain down. The blow turns it back on, you know? But anyway, so, okay. So here's what we got on this home invasion. Because like I said, I don't believe her story about the thing at the hotel because of the CCTV. And if that's not true, right? Like, there's obviously a bunch of different things that could have been here. This very easily could just be Conor. Like, even if she made the story up, Conor sends some goons to her house and he's like, go scare this bitch, right? Like, go scare the shit out of this bitch. Or, you know, or he's like, get revenge. Like, I honestly, if I had consensual sex with a girl who had come on to me the way she did. Oh yeah, I didn't even bring all that stuff up. Okay. Also, in addition to the CCTV and all that, the way they met up, she was DMing Conor pictures of herself and whatever. Like she was aggressively trying to hang out with Conor. And the whole time that she is there with Conor and the dude, all the way up to the second round, you know, where she's having sex with the other guy, she's sending these long, detailed text messages to her fiance, lies, just total fucking lies about where she is and what she's doing. You know, oh no, I'm just blah, 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 blah. Everything's great. You know, I'll see you like later this afternoon, while she's banging both of these guys, right? Or she's getting violently raped. And then for the next few hours, saw, hey babe, just having a great time here at the, you know, this barber fucking convention I'm at, but blah, blah, blah. Right. So, you know, like clearly there is like this boyfriend fiance comes into the story somewhere. But if you are like, if it's me and some girl did this to me, right? Like I had consensual sex with her and she like, especially she like banged me and my friend, you know, like that's a special kind of girl, right? Like that's a special kind of girl who willingly has sex with you and your friend. Like that. I mean, I'm not like some megastar and I've been married for many years, but like, you know, I had plenty of experience with skeezy ass girls prior to meeting Gabrielle. And a girl having sex with like two people in the same like kind of time frame. I'm actually not even sure. I was in the hotel room when a girl had sex with three of my friends, and I turned that down because gross. I'm trying to think if that ever, whatever. That's not a thing that happens. You know what I mean? Like a girl that does that is a whore. Okay. Plain and simple. A girl who fucks two friends in separate sessions at the same time hang out is a whore. Okay. Like I have no qualms in saying that. So if a girl did that to our crew, she would already be like, look, that's unbelievable. She has no self-respect. And then she turned around and filed a violent grape charge against me. I can't even imagine the animosity that I would have towards that girl. You know, like I would feel totally justified in doing whatever I wanted in response. So that being said, it's like Conor McGregor, like, so when I read this the first time, I'm like, Conor's probably lashing out. He's like, go get him. Right. But now after knowing everything about the case, now let me read you the details of this story. And then we can look at it through a different lens. Okay. Because again, and I want to reiterate this, she got the bruises and injuries somewhere, right? She got him somewhere. And if it's not Conor, who is around? Because she went to the doctor pretty quick after this whole thing happened, right? And when she leaves the hotel after her second session, she doesn't look distraught. She doesn't look like she's injured, whatever. But between then and when she goes to the hospital, she is injured or whatever, right? So like the injuries came from somewhere. And she definitely saw the fiance in between. So I'm like, okay, so seems equally likely that the boyfriend beat the shit out of her, or, you know, or they straight up like concocted a way to turn this into this kind of case. Because that's the other thing, dude. Honestly, I actually just literally thought of this right now. A girl having sex with both, like two guys in the same, is so rare. Like that's so absurd that actually does kind of make me feel like that is almost like an intentional thing to make it sound more, you know, fantastic if she's going to put a charge on Conor. You know, he got done with me and then he passed me to his friend and then his friend took his turn. You know what I mean? But then, you know, it's like, anyway. So, all right. So the woman who said Conor McGregor raped her and has won $200K, I believe it's $250K in the civil claim in euros, was forced to move house after a break-in by a group of men in God, I can never say that word, ski masks, believed to be supporters of the UFC fighter. Okay, so look, believed to be supporters of the UFC fighter who stabbed her boyfriend while their baby slept next door. Okay, so again, at first glance, probably sounds like Conor sent goons there, right? Nikita Hand, who accused the sportsman, won her claim against him at the High Court, Dublin, yada, yada. So in the accusation that he brutally raped and battered her. Hand at a hotel in South Dublin in December 2018. McGregor denied in court that he raped her. A jury deliberated for over 6 hours, returning the verdicts, yada, yada. Okay, so where is it? Hang on. Okay, here we go. Okay. So at the outset of the trial, a horrific story of the break-in emerged in the context of a claim she wanted to make. Okay. So she wanted to make a claim. Keep in mind, this story came out in the trial because it was a claim that she was making and she was trying to get damages from it. Okay. So at the outset of the trial, horrific. In the context of a claim she wanted to make for the cost of moving away from Drimnagh in Dublin. With no jury present, her counsel, John Gordon, told Judge Alexander Owens that the incident had happened on June 14th this year, although there was no suggestion that McGregor had anything to do with the break-in. The plaintiff's home was invaded by a group of men wearing balaclavas. They broke into the plaintiff's bedroom and were driven out by the plaintiff's partner, who suffered a stab wound in the process. Her daughter was in the next room sleeping. Okay. Now, here and then here. So we are not laying it at the feet of the defendants or saying we have anything that has anything to do with that. We do make the claim that it was not an untargeted attack. It arose from supporters of the first named defendant. It is related to the claim that she has to move out of the Drimnagh area. So the whole reason this story came up is because she is trying to get Conor to have to pay for her relocation, right? Like, she moved and she wants money because she had to move. So they said, no, Judge, it is an item of special damage. It relates to her state of anxiety and her claim that she had to move from the Drimnagh area, as she now does. She sought, let me actually make that big. She was trying to get 750,000 euros to relocate because of this incident. Okay. She was trying to get 750,000 euros to relocate. Okay. So McGregor's lawyer said, this is a claim that has nothing to do with us. It is extraordinary that there would be an attempt to smuggle something like that into this case to increase special damages, he said. I agree. And an invitation to the jury to speculate. So the judge ruled that this is completely and utterly irrelevant and shouldn't be referred to. So they didn't talk about it in court because the judge is like, what are you talking about? This has nothing to do with this case. And again, this to me, now let's hey, how about common sense, right? So the guy got stabbed, right? Like, the guy got stabbed. All right, well, let's hear what that actually sounded like. The break-in was confirmed at the time by the guard at press office, but no link to McGregor was made. Guard I received a report of the incident of aggravated burglary on the occurrence, 2 a.m. Friday, June 14th. One man in his 30s has been conveyed to St. James Hospital for treatment of non-life-threatening injuries sustained as a result of this incident. Okay. So non-threatening. So these guys make this make sense to me. Okay. Make this make sense. People go and they break into her house in a targeted attack because of this situation with Conor McGregor. They bring a knife to, like, just in case. The husband, fiance, chases them out of the house. Like, okay, so you're telling me Kinahan gang guys that are there to scare them get chased out of the house by the fiance? Does that make sense? These are like professional cartel goons, and they go in there all, oh my God, run. Her fiance's running at us. Okay, that's fucking ridiculous. That makes no sense. And then whatever weapon they had that they stabbed him with is minor, non-life-threatening injuries. And then they're asking for $750,000, for relocation costs. Now, do you think it's more likely that Conor sent retarded goons that were completely unprepared to deal with a single fiance they knew for 100% sure was going to be there? Or that this entire fucking case is an actual straight up lie money grab, and these harebrained motherfuckers thought that they could do a fake targeted break-in, give yourself a tiny little like cut wound, call it a stabbing, and then go try to tack on $750K onto the case. And if that's what they did, which seems very likely to me now, given the fucking, the circumstances of this case, then what do you think the odds are that he's the one that put the fucking bruises on her are? Do you know what I mean? I'm just saying and this is the only other option. This is correct. This is the other option for sure. It's totally plausible. Totally plausible. It could have just been people who were trying to impress the gang that like knew about them and like, I went and scared the shit out of them for you or whatever. That's totally possible. I'm not saying for sure that this is whatever. I'm just saying it's very convenient that this happened, and the outcome was heroic fiance chases out like ski masks. Okay, dude, if you are going to commit a crime, a home invasion with a ski mask on, dude, you're prepared to deal with whatever, like a person coming your way. There's no guns in Ireland. You know what I mean? Like in the like America, you tell this story that came in with balaclavas and like, oh, get chased him out because like, yeah, you know, a gun is a great equalizer. But that just seems extraordinarily unlikely to me, you know. And given that I'm leaning towards this being a money grab on her side, this screams concocted fucking stupid harebrained bullshit. You know? Like just, I mean, just she had sex with his friend hours after she supposedly was brutally, violently raped. You know? Right, exactly. The bad guys have guns in Ireland. Well, the guy who supposedly chased them out of their house is just her law-abiding fiance. You know what I mean? And check this out. This is exactly what I was saying. Jovan, thank you for the super chat. The fact that 250,000 shows Conor had no part, he would probably pay twice as much just to make it go away if it was even close to that. I completely agree with you. And it's like if you were innocent, like normally this kind of thing comes down to, okay, well, if it's going to cost me $200,000 to fight this in court, but I can settle for 50 grand, you just pay the 50 grand, right? It's really like a really shitty thing that people do, especially in the United States, where it's almost like extortion, you know? It's really almost like extortion. I almost did it with my former company when they fired me over, well, they never officially said this, but when I was the, number one producer on the entire global sales team for that quarter, I just closed a deal with Tesla. And then 6 weeks later, they terminated me, coincidentally, 4 weeks after they found out I was unvaccinated. Like I threatened them to sue for, I don't know, political whatever, like discrimination. But the thing is, like, I couldn't figure out why they did it. Like I was just like, how the hell did they land on me? Like the 10% reduction in force, and I'm the only salespeople you guys terminated. Like, how the fuck did that happen? How did you guys land on me? How is that even possible? And I agreed to the size of my severance. Then then it just like dawned on me afterwards. And I was like, because I was already doing this, so I agreed to the severance. And then when somebody kind of like illuminated, they're like, dude, it's just the vaccine. You just got into it with them over your vax status. I'm like, oh, that's it, dude. And so I went back at him with basically the exact, and I opened it up that I was going to sue them or whatever. And I knew the threat alone, if they believed I was really going to do it, would have been like, they'd be better off just offering me a much bigger severance. But like, they went back. I would have probably had to actually file. And I just wanted to be done with it, so I didn't do it. But like in many cases, people sue and the lawyers know they're going to settle because it costs more to fight the case. So it doesn't mean that the person's in the right. It just means that it's cheaper to just pay them off. And like, but if you didn't do this and they're like, yeah, he raped me, some skank that banged you and your friend, gacked out on blow, drunk off her fucking ass, you're like, I'm not paying that bitch a fucking dollar, dude. If she would take $2 to settle this, I'm not doing it. That's a fucking lie. She can't do this to me. Like, that's a goddamn lie, Now, since 2018, it's like so many things have happened with Conor that I guarantee every single time something happened with Conor, like in the press that was bad, where he punches the dude, or like that story about kicking the girl in the Barcelona, like this girl and her fiance must just been like, who's going to fucking believe him now? You know what I mean? But like, again, are you sure? Are you sure the fiance was armed? Because I think in Ireland, like, hang on, let me see. Can you own firearm in Ireland? Oh. Okay, so wait, Okay, okay, so I had this wrong. I mean, just in terms of like your ability to own a firearm. I mean, it doesn't mean that he had a firearm, but like you can own a firearm. I thought they had like the same rules as like the UK. Either way, though, either way, you know, if this is like a real targeted attack from professionals, they're going to know that a person is likely to have a gun and they're going to go in prepared, as opposed to like, you know, again, the injuries being minor, non-life threatening when they got stabbed. I mean, I'm not saying that never happens, but it just seems pretty fucking convenient given the fact that they tried to ask for $750,000 as a result of the incident, you know, later on. And you also got to keep in mind this, dude. It's like I was just saying, where every time Conor ended up in a story, you know, with the media or whatever, like that's just going to embolden it's just going to embolden them, because they're like, no one's going to believe anything, you know. This dude is just burying himself. And again, there's also the side that's like, if you're the guy, dude, if Conor fucked my fiance, dude, that there's nothing I wouldn't do to hurt that guy. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, you know, let's bury this guy. Let's destroy his reputation. Let's drag him through the mud. Let's take as much money from him as possible. Cause like, I mean, there's not many things that'll make you, you know, want to hurt a man more than them, you know, banging your girl. Now, I mean, even if your girl is the aggressor and she's a drunken, coked out skank, like no matter what the situation is, if someone has sex with your fiance, you want to destroy that guy. It's as simple as that. Like, it's like yeah, I mean, it's the most disrespectful thing a guy can do. Now, it's obviously kind of stupid if it's not someone that you know well, it's just some random, like, do you know a lot of, like, and assume that the dude is single. You know, a lot of single guys that are not going to hook up with a willing girl because she has a boyfriend if he doesn't know them, like doesn't know the boyfriend. Like, that's the thing. It's on your girl to not be a whore. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, if the guy does it, you're going to want to smash them. Yes. Yeah. Conor was coked to the gills that night too. Dude, you know what? There was one other thing I wanted to watch that I have not watched yet. Renowned MMA. Let's watch a little bit of this, because I saw this and I haven't watched it. 8 shocking things Conor McGregor testified to during the trial.
Star Conor McGregor has taken the stand in his sexual assault case, denying all of the allegations against him. We're going to break down some of the top moments from what happened.
Sorry, for everybody who's just getting here. No, not the country, left Dublin. See? Oops. Hang on. So it turned, like, in June of this year, the masked assailants broke into their house and supposedly stabbed the boyfriend or the fiance. And then they tried to ask for $750,000 in the trial as a result of this incident, which is verified by no one except for the two of them saying it happened, and a very minor stab wound that was non-life threatening. So if it's a cash grab, then, you know. Okay.
Happened in that courtroom overseas. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. A lot of tension in the High Court out in Ireland this week as MMA star Conor McGregor took the stand as he faces serious allegations brought by a woman named Nikita Hand, because she is claiming that she was raped by the fighter in a hotel room back in December of 2018. Now, this is a civil case, not a criminal case.
We're looking for what he admits
to defend himself against these allegations, and we're going to take a closer look at some
that we're going to want to know. Because what it shows to me, in my mind as a defense attorney, is that this wasn't just some random isolated incident. This was a buildup, a relationship that they had. There was comfortable communication between the two of them, where they were in the same friend group. They would communicate via direct message, whether it's what was on social media or assuming that maybe they had texted before. And there was a plan for them at some point to get together and go to this hotel. Miss Hand had her friend that was there with her, who was also a witness, and I won't say a participant, but was also there allegedly at the hotel at that time as well. There was also, I believe, evidence that Mr. Lawrence, who was Mr. McGregor's friend, also was picked up and taken to that hotel as well. So we have 4 individuals who've headed to a hotel that, you know, in a vehicle that was driven by allegedly Mr. McGregor. And so that shows that there was a plan at least to get to the hotel. There wasn't any indication that
Yes, this is my instinct on how this whole thing started. Is like, because all the other people testified, like her friend said to the other guy, and to, like, and then also I think said when she testified, like, she's going to regret this tomorrow. She just bought a house with her partner. So like, she talked about her boyfriend. Then that girl, the victim, she also talked about, like, you know, being worried about explaining this to her boyfriend with the other guy, you know. And so like, the boyfriend is obviously a looming huge issue in this case. And like, she's having all these DM conversations with Conor. She's drunk and on yayo. Maybe she forgot to delete things out of her phone. She's out all night. You know, regardless of what she's telling you, if this is a girl who would have sex with 2 guys in the same session, you think this is the first time that she's ever lied to her guy? You think it's not like highly likely that he looks through her stuff to see if she's lying to him? She gets home, she forgot about something, bam, he sees her text messages, he sees that she was lying to him and she was hanging out with Conor McGregor. Imagine that feeling, dude. Okay, it's one thing, you know, if you see your girl talking to some guy or whatever, and there's like some way you can tell yourself that you are a superior to the other guy in some case. Like, if he's got more money, but you could beat the shit out of him, cool. If he could beat the shit out of you, but you have way more money than him, you know, it's just like a game that fucking people play with themselves. But it's like, dude, you find out that your girl is running around with Conor fucking McGregor, you know, a UFC superstar who's worth $500 million or whatever. It's like, I can't, like, that would be the most demoralizing feeling in the world. The fact that he stayed together with her just says either he's in on it or he completely believes her, right? Even though she's lying, which seems, I mean, again, I don't know them. Like, or he beat the shit out of her and then put her up to it or whatever, you know? So let's continue.
There was any foul activity at that point, or a significant question as to whether or not there was going to be a risk of harm or anything like that.
And people could change their minds, right? You know, maybe she was interested and then not interested. People can change their minds. Now, here's the thing. When it came to that encounter, McGregor...
I love that. People could change their mind, you know? Like, you could go hang out with Conor McGregor fully intending on having sex with him. And then, you know, once you got there, you're like, I don't want to do this. It's like, that's true. That could happen. But could that happen? Like, you change your mind and then you get violently raped. And then 2 hours later, you're all, you know what? Turns out I am in the mood for some sex. So I think I'm going to have sex with his friend willingly on video. So, like, you know, it's just like, there was just this little moment in the middle of it that just happened to be at the moment where I could technically, you know, if this went the wrong way, I could try to go get $2 or $3 million. And that's when I decided I didn't want to do it. Yeah, there's no way for you to verify it. And, every single person who was there is testifying that I'm lying. The CCTV shows that I'm lying, but I did have bruises and I said that Conor did it. So they're all, believe all women, you know?
Said he testified that the 2 of them, they were kissing, and then they engaged in what he said was fully consensual sex. He said it was good-hearted, happy. As a matter of fact, one of the first things that he said on the stand regarding Nikita's testimony was, everything's a lie. It is a full-blown lie among many lies. And he also characterized their encounter as enthusiastic and even athletic. These are terms that he used. What are your thoughts on how he characterized that?
Athletic. Dude, someone should get an interview with Ebony Bridges and be like, so tell me about it. You know, when you're Conor's side piece, what's he like, you know, in bed? She's probably like, he's a tiger. And I love it. I let him throw me around anytime he wants. Enthusiastic and athletic. That's so funny, dude.
But I think that's important here because what I also found out was that there were allegations of some sort of physical altercation or abuse. I think that Miss Ham indicated that she had some injuries to the neck area, and that ultimately, when she went to seek treatment, there were photos that were taken or something of that nature.
But that's the point, right? Was it non-consensual violent sex, or was it, rough sex, right? I mean, I hate to get graphic, but that's what we're talking about.
That's exactly what we're talking about here. And I've said this previously.
It's irrelevant. It's either willing and consensual or it's not. You know what I mean?
In other cases that, one of the things we have to be mindful of is not to criminalize sexual activity. Unless it's illegal, unless it's without consent, or unless it's with a child, we have to be mindful of that. And this appears to be a situation.
Hang on. Wait, I just missed. Oops. John definitely voted Trump. What did John say? Who lied first? Women. I don't really understand that comment, but yeah. I mean, again, I don't think that there is an issue like where there is a stupider position on anything than believe all women. You're like, what? What are you talking about? Like, that does not make any sense. I completely understand the issue. Again, I am the father of 3 daughters. Like, my life is, I am surrounded by women all day long. I have a wife that I'm with all the time, and I have 3 young daughters. My oldest being 12, 7th grade, right at the time where you have to start thinking about this stuff a lot. Okay, like, believe me, I wish that I lived in a world where you can just believe all women. I do. However, that is absurd. These are really complicated issues, like really complicated. And when you get into he said, she said, you have to make a judgment call. And candidly, I will totally acknowledge, absent that security footage, I would probably lean towards he probably did this, only because of those other incidents where you're kind of like backing into previous behavior. And if you believe those, then you're like, all right. Now, none of those were like sexual violence against a woman or whatever, but it just shows like, okay, because like the Conor that I know would never do that stuff, like that I know from like what I've seen of him. It's like that guy's never gonna just out of nowhere attack a fucking DJ at 3 a.m. That guy's not gonna, or even flash on Machine Gun Kelly and then just act like it didn't happen on camera, or kick the girl in Spain. Like, that's so clearly we got a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation, which makes sense. I guess that like this must have happened because she does have the injuries. Then the security footage, and you're like, never mind. You know what I mean? It's all like humans. I don't know if you guys have ever watched the documentary or read the book Freakonomics, but it's all about how human beings are absolutely predictable, like to an almost laughable degree. And that's how I always look at everything to try to decide what's going on. If there's no way to know for sure, is you look at the incentive structure, right? Like, that's how you know that if you have like a representative from Pfizer telling you one story, and then you have RFK telling you another story. Pfizer stands to make $50 billion. RFK stands to make nothing, and they have contradictory stories. Which one is more credible, assuming that the guy who is saying the opposite of the corporation has a long history of credibility and you've gauged them as credible? Like, there is no incentive for this person to lie, and there is the biggest incentive ever for this side to lie. So of course, if you can find more, kind of default, like, I think he's probably telling the truth. You go do a little bit more research, verifies his side, then you believe them. And then when people try to tell you that he's a kook, you go, you just don't know what you're talking about. And the confidence that you can get from that is all based on incentives. It's all based on incentives. So again, in this situation, that doesn't really apply because Conor is he's a sex freak that is like, he's very incentivized to have sex with the girl that night. So you're like, all right, like he really wanted to have sex, but then she is wildly incentivized to claim that this was a sexual assault, both to explain it off to her fiance and then also try to become a multimillionaire. So like, do you know what I mean? It's like when you look at the Danny Masterson case, the guy who is the Scientologist, So that guy, okay. So that guy got convicted of raping. I believe he got convicted of raping 3 different girls, and he's now in jail for decades, right? He's the guy who was on that 70s show, but he's a Scientologist, whatever. Okay. So initially, I will actually admit for sure, if I'm being totally transparent, I'm not sure it, like, I think at best I go in kind of 50-50 to these things of like, maybe this happened, maybe this didn't. But if I'm honest, I think in many cases I accidentally default to believe the dude just because the idea of hurting a woman is unfathomable to me. The idea of like incapacitating a girl and taking it from her is it's like, there's like I cannot even explain to you how contrary to my personality that is. There is no scenario in 1,000 years where I would do that. I can't relate to it at all, you know? And so I'm like, really? You know, a lot of times the way that I kind of try to understand other people is like, how would I feel in that situation? And generally speaking, most people have similar emotional reactions to things. And so it's like, okay, well, if I was in that situation, I would feel like that. And so this, you know, when it's like, oh, this guy did this to me, I'm like, I just can't even relate. So I'm just saying that to explain why when the Danny Masterson case came out, I was like, really? I'm like, that guy, like, he's like a movie star. Why the hell would he do that? You know, like, and they said that like he looked like I don't know, some weird shit. Anyway, but the bottom line is this. When he was convicted and you find out that the girls who filed the criminal charges were not looking for money. Like they told the same story and they were not looking for money. You're like, okay, I believe it then. Because what's their incentive to lie? Why would they make this up if they're not going to go get money in a civil case? Right? Like, there's no, I mean, like that right there, there's no incentive for them to lie. So what are you talking about? He has a huge incentive to lie because he doesn't want to go to fucking jail. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I know exactly why he would lie. And they have no incentive. Why would you believe him when you got multiple people saying the same thing and they're not even after money, you know? But like, who would pay random Scientologist girls to put a fake charge on Danny Masterson? What's the, like, you know what I mean? The comment that women lied first was a reference to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Oh, okay. Well, but yeah, I mean, so again, there's no stronger instinct that I have than to protect women and children. And like, if you put someone in the next room, handcuffed to a chair, and then you had some way to have like a straight up video of an incident that happened, and then you were like, here you go, Jesse, and you show it to me, and you show me a guy sexually victimizing a girl, and they're like, he's in there, what do you want to do? I mean, I can't even explain to you as much as my instinct to like hurt women is non-existent, my instinct to hurt people who hurt women is overwhelming. It's like, it's hard to explain. I would put it on them. So like, protecting women, very important. So I just want to make that clear because I am absolutely discounting the story, but I don't think I'm being unfair to her. I just think that that's what the facts support. You know what I mean? Like that's hang on. So, okay. So no, okay, here. I always have to do this in live streams just to make sure they come on, they click, and then so basically what we found out is that in June, supposedly well, not supposedly, some masked people, invaded their home and stabbed the fiance. That everybody's obviously going to assume that Conor McGregor sent them to scare her. However, when you read the details of the case, go back in the live stream. And when you actually get into the details of the case, they don't really make a lot of sense to me at all. And they asked for $750,000 in court. So it's like, all right, well, there you go. There's your huge incentive to fucking fabricate this story. Doesn't mean they did necessarily, but that's what it was. You know what I mean? By the way, really quick, did you guys watch Jan versus Figueiredo? I completely forgot that it was on super early this morning. So I woke up and then I remembered, I'm like, oh my God. So I went ESPN Plus and watched the main event. I don't know if you guys saw it. So I won't say what happened, but I cannot stress that you should really go watch that fight if you haven't watched it. All right, let's listen to more of this.
And we do have witnesses that may have not been inside of the room, but could at least hear what was going on. That would indicate that it appeared to sound like a joyous occasion between the two.
Now, for anybody who knows Conor McGregor has been following his story, you might remember there's another important factor in all of this is that Conor McGregor has a partner, or he had a partner at the time.
I didn't give any UFC spoilers. I did catch myself though, dude. Corn Pope. That's funny, dude. No spoilers, you guys. The fight was off the hook though. It was never believe all women. It was believe women, which is still dumb. Wait, really? Thank you for the super chat. Let's find out. Believe all women. Oh. Believe women was a slogan. All right. Okay. Believe all women is a straw man. Okay. So why I never believed in believe women in the Atlantic. Something tells me that when you open that up, it's going to be like, oh, believe all women is a right-wing trap. Whatever. All right. Well, so bottom line is, if that's the case, like if that really is, if it was believe women as opposed to like believe all women, that at least makes more sense. Cause like I said, if that happens to a girl, especially the kind of girl that is not assertive enough to, to like force the issue to where she's able to escape or whatever, like the more meek a girl is, the more likely she's just going, like, she's going to stop fighting and, whatever. And so you think about a girl like that, which is way more likely to be the victim of this thing in the first place. And then you ask them to go tell this secret to police, and then open themselves up to the scrutiny that's going to automatically come from that thing. It's terrifying. Like when people are like, why didn't she come forward until now? Dude, I completely understand why they don't. 100%. Because like, first of all, they're like, no one's going to, it's embarrassing because they, like in many cases, they feel responsible for putting themselves in that position in the first place. Where they're like, I was irresponsible. I was drunk. What the hell was I even doing there with this guy? I didn't know he was a monster, whatever. No one was there. No one's going to believe me. Like no one's going to believe me, which is fucked, And if you really think about that too, I think people who are like real predators who like would do this, multiple times, I think they know that. You know what I mean? Like, I think they actually know that. They're like, no one, like they're, it's a much more predatory mindset that I cannot relate to at all. But now that I'm thinking about it, like they're evil predator fucks, man. And so in their mind, they're like, she knows no one's going to believe this. She's not going to say anything about it. And then they're right. That's what I'm saying, dude. Show me the video of that guy. Put him in the other room. Kill that fuck, But, fiance armed. She was great, bro. End of story. Okay. So explain. I'm seriously asking. I mean, that like, I'm in no position to know for sure what happened. However, I am in a position to ask a follow-up question related to your opinion. So we know for sure that she, hours later, willingly came back to the hotel and had sex with Conor's friend when Conor was not there. Does that sound like the behavior of someone who was just violently raped in the way that she described? Like, there's no question that happened. It's on video. That's what happened. Right? Like, that is what happened. She went back to the hotel, had sex with the guy. She's on the security camera, like kissing his neck, making out, whatever, hours after the story that she said about Conor. That still lines up for you. You know, you're right. I am speaking from experience because I was taken advantage of. I was young. I didn't know. I'm just kidding. That was a terrible joke. Terrible joke. His friend was a witness. He did testify to that. He testified that she had he said that she had this one tiny little bruise on her. And she said to him, "Oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to explain this to my fiance or whatever." You know, no, I'm not. I'm just a joke, dude. I was joking. I was joking. Okay, Jesse, you're being unfair to her. You're making stuff up which was never proven, does not exist, such as her being. Okay, so I'm not making things up. I mean, I might not be being fair to her, calling her names. I'm just saying, let's just say it like this. A girl, any girl who has sex with a guy and then has sex with their friend hours later is a whore, in my opinion. Like, I mean, and no one's going to change my mind on that. Obviously, if they forced it on her, that's a completely different category. But if she was like, "Yay, I'm going to have sex with this guy," and then she's like, "You know what? I want to have sex with this guy also," whore. You know, I have many female friends that used to be whores. You know, I don't know about that level, but actually, I don't think I'm friends with anyone who's ever done that. But nonetheless, it's like, which is why this, as I've said over and over and over, if it was not for the CCTV tape verifying that she did in fact go back with the other guy, have sex with him, and then her story, it's like, why didn't you mention this when you filed the charge? She's all, "I don't remember that." You're like, yeah, fucking right. You know, yeah, right. Which way would I rule if I was, you mean the judge? Oh, I would have dismissed. I mean, I would have just been like, again, honestly, this is actually an excellent question because I'm just stating my opinion, you know, like based on, but seriously, when you actually put it to me like that, like, you're just like, how would you rule if you were in this case? And I mean, like, I feel very confident that she lied. And having to actually, okay, so how would you rule? Like, it actually is hard for me, even in this hypothetical, to just go, I'm awarding her nothing. I don't believe her, even though I don't. You know what I mean? And I'm a pretty fucking decisive person. So if it even gives me pause to be like, she's lying, she gets nothing, just because on the very small outside chance that she is telling the truth, like it like kind of turns my gut. If it's hard for me, I can't imagine 12 jurors all being like, she's lying, she gets nothing, when she did have the injuries. You know what I mean? Because like, if there's a little bit of uncertainty, you are being asked to make a decision that is absolutely ironclad certain. As much as I talk about things as if I'm certain, that's just the way that I talk. You know, like, doesn't mean, like, I'm obviously not 100% sure about fucking pretty much anything, you know, but like, I would say 99%. I've never met a girl who would get violently sexually assaulted and then willingly go have sex with another guy within hours. You know, like, that's just not a thing. If this happened to Jesse's wife or daughters, he wouldn't believe them. What the fuck are you talking about? If that happened to one of my wife or daughters and I knew who did it, I would end their bloodline. As Tim Kennedy would say, I would salt the earth. But that's not going to happen. Because I am preparing my daughters for a world fraught with danger from dudes. Now, on that particular subject, I will say this to parents of daughters. If you are if they're young and you're trying to decide what you're going to do to prepare them for life in general, what sport to put in, my suggestion, regardless of their temperament, is put them in jiu-jitsu. Not just because they learn to defend themselves. A, they learn to defend themselves. B, it gives them confidence. Like there's something irreplaceable about the feeling of fighting and dominating another person that's going to make you more confident, especially actually if you're kind of a meek person. The other thing is for girls, I mean, you guys are all, or a lot of you guys are combat sports fans. So if you're a smaller combatant and you're on your back with your legs wrapped around your opponent, basically the exact position that a grapist would be in if they forced you on the ground, how does that fare for you as a jiu-jitsu fighter if you're really good, right? Like some untrained dipshit Neanderthal, that's got 50 pounds on a girl. If the girl's good enough, she is going to fucking armbar them and break their arm, or something else, and like that. And so like, it's obviously a tremendous skill to have, but specifically for sexual assault, specifically to defend against sexual assault. So like, does that seem like a worthwhile use of your, like, oh, well, they could play sports. It's like, or you could prepare them to be an absolutely lethal instrument of destruction if they have to, Well, no, that's funny. So my oldest does have a boyfriend. He's a really good kid, dude. I really, really, really like this kid. He's like a really good kid, man. But I'll show you something, because he actually came to one of the jiu-jitsu tournaments that we fought in recently, the tap cancer one, and Giselle fought. And so this is the very first time, like he knew, he knows she does jiu-jitsu and stuff, but this is the first time that he had ever seen her do jiu-jitsu. I'm going to show you the fight just because it's not very long, but it was like, it's so great. It's like, okay, well, let's see how she performs, in front of her boy, hey, big time pressure. How are you going to do in front of your boyfriend? It's like, oh, well, I guess I didn't have to stress out about that very long. She won by 6-second submission. Oh, hang on. Where did that go? There it is. And then, oh my God, I can't believe I've never showed you guys this, dude. Oh my God, come on, dude. I'm going to also show you guys, I'll show you guys this super quick clip of my younger daughter when she Americana'd this girl and then looked over at, it's like, this is my point. Like, just look in the eyes of this little 7-year-old slapping an Americana on a girl and then looking over at the camera. And you're just like, that's why you put your kid in jiu-jitsu. That's why, right there. Her face is just like, I am a savage beast. Let's be honest, Jesse, there are way more gold diggers than there are male grapers. So in cases like this, where the guy is rich and famous being accused of rape, I usually believe the man's story. I very much disagree with the numbers. But when the guy, I mean, I agree with half of it. I don't think that there are way more, like women who would be willing to make up a story than there are guys who would like grape a girl. Cause I 100% do believe that like, that most of these cases go unreported, you know, but at the same time, when it comes to it being a celebrity, I agree with you that I default to, yeah, right. Only because why would they need to grape anyone, you know? But at the same time, there is also a component of like celebrities are used to being able to get whatever they want. And so, you know, it's like, so like you catch him at the right, you know, thing. And it's like the girl changed her mind and he's like, I don't care. I'm taking it. Like that for sure is a thing. But again, there's a lot of incentive for them to lie. Let me see if I can make this work. Oh, I did it. Okay, check this out. So in this clip, we were at Open Mat, which, you know, so the kids just spar all day. And I told my daughters that I would give them an extra $1 for the coffee shop for every submission that they got. So this is her looking over to make sure that I saw this. It's like my favorite clip ever. Look at her face, dude. Oh my God, this is fucking priceless. Like her little face, like you saw that, right? It smirks at the end, dude. Such a little gangster, dude. That one right there is the most that's my like that. She's like Giselle is just ice cold, dude. She's ice cold. This one, she's got fire in her. It's so funny, dude. And then Genevieve, my middle one, has her technique is ridiculously good. When she locks in a technique, it's just flawless. But so all of them have kind of their own thing that separates them from the other ones. But anyway, so I mean, listen, like if I'm Conor now, all you can do is just, you honestly can't really undo, like you can't really undo what has happened now, you know, even if you do get the decision, you know, like flipped on appeal, it will not undo this. You know what I mean? It won't undo the, even if, yeah, I mean, no, look, like, even if he sued her, I think you're saying like Conor sues her, even if he sues her and wins, like, you guys know how this is. Like, it just think about like the election that just happened. You know, it's like convicted felon, yada, yada, yada. It's like, and what, even if you like have looked super deep into that case and you're like, this is total nonsense, it's still a factually accurate statement. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you know, obviously I don't agree with it, but it's like, it's just like a label that would follow them around. Now that's over for him in particular, but I don't think Conor is going to win any elections anytime soon that can undo his entire history. But I do think that people are going to now just be like, he's a rapist. You know? Exactly. The Trevor Bauer case is like, that's, yeah, wait, what? BJJ does not work in sexual assault for most women because of the size difference. That is a ludicrously incorrect statement. That's absurd. There is a certain level of size and strength that is too much to overcome for sure. But it has to do with the level of skill, the size of the person, but that's absurd. That's just fucking not correct at all. Like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is literally created and developed for a jiu-jitsu fighter who had tremendous physical disadvantages. The whole entire martial art is about a smaller, much weaker opponent, fighter beating a tremendously bigger and stronger opponent. That's just what it is. And so when you end up against, like, you end up against an untrained opponent. Like, I cannot stress this enough. And this is not like me being anything special. It's just, I've been doing this for 4 years now, fucking training constantly. Like, when I go up against someone who is untrained, like someone who's new, it literally makes no difference how big they are. It's completely effortless to beat them. Now, I'm obviously strong, but like girls, it's like, there's no one like inherently knows how to defend against like a certain kind of technique from jiu-jitsu. If you don't do jiu-jitsu, you're not going to know what's happening. It's going to feel like you're just into whatever. You don't realize that they are setting up to isolate one of your limbs and break it. It's like, if you're talking about an adult girl who's at least strong enough to be a grown-up, like, dude, that's just not correct unless the guy is absolutely huge. Or if the girl is not good at jiu-jitsu. I'm talking about if a girl is good at jiu-jitsu, like someone who's really, really good, like a competition level jiu-jitsu fighter girl, yeah. And also, Gabrielle made a really good point about this too. She always talks about it. She was saying that like the other thing too is like, having fought in jiu-jitsu so much, having a man like in that space, where they would be, you're not going to, like, the girl's not going to panic because she's had people in that position 10,000 times. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, he's doing something I don't want him to do, and he's not listening to me. Okay, well, I've been in this situation before. Now I fight, versus a girl who is frozen, Tammy, thank you very much. Dan Severn got choked out by Hoist Gracie. Exactly. And Dan Severn is a fighter. But like, thank you for the super chat. Very generous. I appreciate you. Straight shooter. The claim DJT is a convicted rapist, and he won. Well, I mean, again, it's the exact same thing. Especially in that case, you're like, you want to talk about, like in this Conor one, you're all right. Well, so what's the evidence against it? It's like Sean video hooking up with another guy 2 hours later completely disqualifies the story as far as I'm concerned. Not to mention every other person who's there is testifying against her, saying she's lying. But like in the E. Jean Carroll one, you're all, so what's your evidence? They're all, she said it happened. And you're all, when? It's like 35 years ago. You're all, what? Like, she said it happened? They're all, yes. You're like, do you have any physical evidence at all? Any witnesses, like a single thread of evidence that is not just a person saying a thing, like what, why would you? And they're like, not to mention they awarded her $80 million. Is that a pretty big incentive, to make that story up? Not to mention discredit, the leader of the opposing party politically, if you're an attention hungry, like, public person. Like, I can't imagine a bigger incentive for you to lie. The story makes absolutely no sense. Every time that she got interviewed, it was obvious to everyone. They're like, oh, this is not just a liar. She's completely batshit crazy. And they still awarded him the 80. So it's like, and nonetheless, they're like, oh yeah, he's a rapist. And you're like, okay, okay. But to your point, yeah. Oh, the Mighty Mouse vid sub to John. Yeah, totally. Train BJJ will destroy, not train other. I mean, yeah. Like, did you guys see when they did at B Team and they were like battle of the sexes, and they had the dude, I think he's either a blue belt or a purple belt. And he went against that female world champion, and they were like, they like get everybody around. They're like, and she fucking broke his knee in like 12 seconds, just popped his knee. Injury, like tore the ligaments in his knee, super fucking fast. And all of them, like, they all froze. And all of them said the same thing. They're like, why didn't you tap, bro? Oh man. I just think I know why he didn't tap, is because if you're inexperienced with leg locks, you don't know how much trouble you're in. Like those guys all know, like, when the guy gets the position and they're like, tap, before they even like have to torque on it, because they know, because it's one of those things where, you know, like in jiu-jitsu, when you're training with your partners, and actually Frank Mir told me that in practice, he always pulls hard on submissions, you know, arm locks, anything. He pulls really hard on them to where if they don't tap, they'll, you know, the arm will break. And I was like, really, dude? And I remember that was years ago. I think I might even still been a white belt then. I don't know, but it was a long time ago. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, that sounded totally crazy to me. That, you know, that fucking Frank Mir, who could just shatter everybody's, you know, he broke fucking Tim Sylvia's arm. He's broke, like, how many guys has he just shredded in the octagon with jiu-jitsu? And what he said is, he was like, it's their responsibility to tap, and that's how they're going to be better prepared, you know, like, is knowing like that. And I remember, like I said, at the time being like, that's fucked. You're just going to end up injuring people. But in practice, in actuality, I completely understand why he said that. Now, I don't personally do it, you know, but like what ends up happening is people in practice, they end up in like certain bad positions, and they're used to being able to try to mount certain types of defense from those positions. And they don't realize that if the person they were fighting was unconcerned about breaking their arm's fucking broken really fast. Like when I build a shitload of my game around Kimura, and, you know, like Kimura, like I could say this with absolutely zero hesitation, in a street fight where I'm like, whatever, like, if it's an untrained, but like will absolutely for 100% sure break their arm, because it's like, you know, I mean, like, you know, dude, you're sitting on their head to finish it that way. Or if you go the other way, you know, and you end up across the body, whatever, any way that you finish Kimura, it's the one submission where I can literally just feel it's like a rubber band, you know, like where you're like, and the person's completely helpless to defend it, you know, and you're just like, all right, well, if I pull this, like, you know, if I go, like, it's the same, like, you know, the way that you feel like breaking a branch, like it starts to be elastic. There's the whole arm feels like that. You're like, this is shattering super fast if I actually pulled on this, which I never do, obviously. But like in that same situation, if a person thinks that they can defend their way out of a Kimura, but then they end up in a tournament or a real fight, they end up in the exact same position, and they think they have an additional 3 seconds to try to defend against it. Well, if I'm going 100%, your arm's already broken, like just fucking without a doubt. I mean, like, it's by the time that I have even like that they even realize that they're in really serious trouble, and I'm kind of like, you know, going slow, and I'll just stop, you know, like if like someone won't I'll just literally stop and I'll just let it go because I don't care. But like, yeah, I mean, if I'm going 100%, like I got it outside your arm, your arm's going to break literally inside of probably 2 seconds. 2 seconds. No, I know. I'm not talking about girls. I'm just saying, like, I was actually just talking about that leg lock situation with the girl and then not knowing leg locks. But with girls from the bottom, like my daughter, Giselle, especially, her arm bar from bottom is, I mean, incredible, dude. Incredible. And like, that's the whole, I mean, that is what jiu-jitsu is isolating. Like, the person as a whole is much stronger than you. But if you could position your body in a way where it's not you versus them, it's you versus their arm, you know, or you versus their leg or their ankle or their neck, right? That's the entire, at its core, that's the entire martial art of jiu-jitsu, is like, I isolate a part of their body where my full body is going against their limb. You know what I mean? That's why, like, in a lot of techniques, you have to remember, like, instead of, you know, like pulling on something or whatever, like, you need to attach your body to that thing and then lift with your body. You know, like situations like where, you know, like I have to remember that a lot, where I'll get into situations where I'm like, I feel like I'm getting stuck in this spot. Generally speaking, the answer is always attach yourself and then pull with your entire body instead of trying to just do it with your arms, which literally just got like that. That's the entire martial art. Isolate something weak and attack it. And these are breaking points. Like, these are not just like, you know, attack it or whatever. It's like break their arm. They're not fighting after that. You know, shatter their ankle. They're not fighting after that. Choke them unconscious. They're not fighting after that. All of these things are fight enders. You know what I mean? Body leverage, yes. And it's an art, it's a superpower. You know, like I've told this story on the channel before, but it's like I don't know personally a lot of like people with a lot of jiu-jitsu training that have been in street fights that I know about, you know. But the one that I do know about is this brown belt from Six Blades. I think he's been under Shunji for 15 years because he was there in San Diego also. And he's this like, if he weighs over 130 pounds, that would shock me. He's like, I think he's like 68 years old. He's this black dude. He's hilarious. But I can't explain to you how not physically imposing this guy is, or how, like, just if you walk by this guy on the street, you would be like, that's the easiest round in history. You know what I mean? Like, this is not a person, like, he doesn't even, like, it's not like he doesn't walk athletic. He walks like, you know, kind of like an older guy who's kind of like, his body's a little bit broken down. And I think it was like 2 years ago, he was at a gas station, and he said these like gang member guys were harassing like the gas station attendant. And, you know, long story short, the guy got in his face and the dude attacked him. And so he's like, I was caught off guard. So I was on my back, you know, before, like, he was just like, you know, he was big. He's like, so I ended up on my back. And he's like, but then he's like, man, just my muscle memory kicked in, man. He's like, it's just pure muscle memory. I wasn't even thinking. He's like, so I triangled him, and then, and he choked him unconscious. And then he said that he kept him in the triangle while he let go. So the guy regained consciousness while still in the triangle, just to see what the guy was going to do. And when he first woke back up, he started spazzing out and trying to fight again. So he choked him unconscious again. And then he said the second time when the guy woke up, he just stood up and bolted and ran the other way. And I just thought about that. It was like some big, like, gang. He said the guy's like a gang member guy. Some big gang member fuck got choked out by a decrepit 65-year-old man who literally, if you put those guys, if you squared them up and you were like, okay, the odds are 10,000 to 1 on the gang member, you'd still be off. That's a safe bet. I'll bet on it. And the guy's absolutely no match for him. Like fucking ridiculously easy. Just an instantaneous, like, oh, you're done. Choked unconscious. You know, the thing that I always remember the thing that like sticks out to me thinking about that story is how he said, like, the muscle memory just kicked in, you know, because like guys who are pros, I mean, like, especially like UFC fighters who are doing fucking high level professional combat sports, it's like, obviously those guys are kind of used to going 100%. And honestly, it's not like surprising. Like, if you go and train every day, like, you are training to fight. Like, you're in all of the same positions. The reason why muscle memory kicks in is because you've done it 10,000 times. It just happens. But you think, like, in the street, in like a high danger situation, you just wonder, like, I wonder how that would go. And the answer in 99 out of 100 times is the same way it would go when a guy comes in for his very first jiu-jitsu class, which is, I can go 15% and he's never going to even improve his position. So, like, it's like a superpower, man. Tiffany, welcome to the membership. Welcome to the membership. He got neck crank, not choked. Yeah, he did. Nate Diaz did choke him, but that's the only one. Do I make 600 a day? I don't understand. What? I don't understand the question. Talking about like in jiu-jitsu? Are you? I mean, I'm sorry. Like YouTube? Like, you asking about money? Getting in shape works. Practicing martial arts works. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was saying my channel makes much more than that. So yeah, what I was saying is that women who train jiu-jitsu are on their back in a position that they would find themselves in most sexual assault attacks. And that just happens to be the staging point for a tremendous amount of your jiu-jitsu offense, you know? Um, well, a tomato. First of all, what's a tomato from vegetables? I don't even understand that question. Do you know who makes dough? Gabrielle. Gabrielle crushes. I make as I think I'm. I mean, yeah, I make more money now than I ever did consistently in my life. Like where like I would end up getting these big bulk checks, you know, in terms of commissions or like things when I sell a company or whatever. But in terms of like what can I expect month to month, I make the most I've ever made by a healthy margin. And Gabrielle makes more than I do now. She's fucking crushing business. And you want to know what that does? Like in terms of like our day-to-day life? Nothing. It's exactly the same. It's just like, you know, once you make a certain amount of money, if you're not like a person who goes and buys everything, I don't have to stress out about like, you know, oh, if we're going to plan a Cancun trip, we can afford to do that and not think about it. Above that threshold, it doesn't really matter to us because we just like to travel. A clown saying Conor is sad. What does that even mean? I have no idea what that means. I sold my soul to who? Walk me through that, dude. Oh, dude, Cancun is the best. Cancun and Cabo. Dude, I know. We've got like actually, I think I mean I haven't run the like numbers in terms of what their accounts will be when they need to go, but we got like I think that what we have stashed now by the time they go, I don't think we would need to contribute very much more to afford it, but like because what it's like 200K per kid, right? Is that what like 200K per kid? Which is ludicrous. I honestly I can't like think about you know I know kind of what is normal, you know, like normal money. Like the whole idea of someone going into debt $200,000 to get a college education, and that's just standard operating procedure to like go into the workforce is so, if you really think about that, it is so idiotic and backwards and destructive. Like debt is your enemy unless you're using the debt to accumulate wealth. You know, like if you're financing a project that is intended to, you know, increase in value, that's completely different. But like, you know, borrowing money against like depreciating asset like a car, you know, or borrowing money like to go to school. Like, I don't understand how we've all just agreed to the terms of like, yeah, well, this person has to spend $200,000 to be able to get an entry-level job in these different sectors where like they could just go into those sectors right out of the gate and then focus all of their learning energy on getting exceptional at that thing instead of wasting all this time in college. Like it makes sense if you're going to be a doctor or an attorney or whatever, but like, I don't know, it makes no sense. Nerve damage. Oh, Tammy, what's up? Nerve damage from simple overstretching that happened 3 months ago. I still cannot walk or stand for more than a minute. It's taking so long to heal. Any word of encouragement? Yes. Just hang tight. Nerve damage. I have one experience with that, and it was fucking gnarly. Like I had been, this was that it was like the first year that I was doing jiu-jitsu. I think I like maybe like 6 months in, and I still hadn't really figured out, like I was just starting to figure out my arm bar from mount. And I was in a position where I was in half guard, kind of like quarter guard, and I trapped the guy's arm. So that was one of the first like sequences that I felt very comfortable with, was like, if I trap a person's arm, you know, where you kind of go around and then you C cup it to your body. Like I knew in four steps I was going to armbar them. I mean, or less, but like if I trap that arm, I'm going to armbar them. You know what I mean? It was one of those things. And so like, but this was really early to where I trapped the guy's arm and I was just getting good at it. And he was this huge wrestler guy, and I had my foot stuck in quarter guard. So like, I was like, oh, I got this guy. And so my attempt was, I was going to free my leg and all at once slide straight into the armbar. But again, I wasn't very good at it yet. And so when I went to go do it, and I thought I had my leg free, I didn't. And he rolled me. And because I was holding on to the arm, I didn't like break my fall, and my head just went smash straight into the mat. Like, that was the first time in my entire life that I knew I was injured, you know, like not hurt, I'm injured, you know. It was like instantaneous. I ripped my gi off, like, because it honestly felt like I was on fire. That's the only way I can even describe it. Like the pain I had from that thing, it was like anybody who's played football, apparently like what I had was like a really severe stinger. And I remember like hearing people, oh, you know, he just got a stinger, like, and I'd never had one. So like, I didn't know, you know, like when they're laid out and it's like, oh, he got a stinger. I was like, oh, just a stinger, you know? And then I got one, a really gnarly one. And it was like, oh my, it hurt so fucking bad. And then I couldn't feel anything from the back of my neck down to the middle of my back on the right side. I had absolutely no feeling for 3 weeks. Nothing. Like nothing. Like if you melted an ice cube on my trap, I would only know that you did that because I would feel myself getting wet. Like I had no feeling at all, which was obviously really fucking weird. But it did come back. Obviously, it just takes a little while. And it's like, you know, but nerve damage is scary. But like in my experience, they do come back. And if you just like, and if it was just overstretching, I mean, bottom line is injuries suck balls, man. You just have to wait it out. And in that case, like in the case of yours, I would imagine like if you try to, like if you start like going too soon, it'll probably take longer to heal. It sucks. Numb on your left side for over a year. Isn't that fucking nuts? It's like the weirdest feeling ever. You got it, dude. Let me see. So I'm going to buy a gun for my birthday. Who's got any suggestions? What do you guys think? Any of you gun people have any suggestions for what I should get? Come up here to my live stream. That's okay. Gabrielle, come up with your no makeup on and show them how pretty you are without makeup. Come on. Come on, show them. I think you look prettiest with no makeup on anyway. All right. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap this up in like 15 minutes and we'll go do guns. All right. Love you. Bye. The FN 57 is an excellent suggestion. I already have a Ruger 57, however, so that wouldn't make any sense. I actually like the Ruger better. The FN is thick, dude. It's like big. I mean, the Ruger 57, that's what I keep in my car now, actually. Hellcat is actually like one of a few that I'm like high on the list. Because what I want, like really the slot I'm trying to fill is so like in the winter, if I'm wearing like heavy clothes, I can carry I have a shadow system MR 920, which is the exact same size as a Glock 19, but it's just big, like it's that bottom line is much bigger than I would ever carry in the summer. In the summer, I carry Glock 43, but it's low capacity and it doesn't have like you can't mount an optic on it. So I think what I'm going to go do is get a gun that is similar size to the Glock 43, higher capacity that I can mount an optic on. Like that's what I think I'm going to do. So you're basically at Hellcat or the SIG. Oh my God, what the fuck is the name of it? Whatever, the SIG version. There's a SIG that carries 17. I think that's this. Oh my God, what the fuck is the name of it? Whatever, the one that's Max or whatever. Sand Viper all day if I could. I don't think I can justify spending $8,500 on a gun, but Mini 14 Ruger. I have a Ruger AR. Walther PP11. What's a PP11? Oops. Ugh. Are the little 380 the like James Bond gun? I thought about the blackout, but like it doesn't really fill any need that I have. P365. Yeah, that's right. I had a Springfield XD. It actually got stolen. When my car got stolen, that was the gun that I had in the car, and they stole it out of there. And I have a Springfield XDS. That's actually also in my car. I used to carry the XDS in my car, and then I was like, oh, Ruger 5.7 carry, because the XDS is single stack, so it only carries like 7 rounds. And I'm like, whatever. Then the Ruger 5.7 carries 20, and those rounds are ideal for shooting through cars in a necessity situation. So I put it in there, but I didn't take the other one out. So I just lots of guns in the car. Yeah, I mean the 43X, I guess 43X you can mount an optic on. And with 15, yeah, because actually, so with my 43, I had them do that metal magazine modification that actually makes it to where it carries 9. So I can't I think the original carries 7, and they do that same thing as that makes the X go up to 15, and so it carries 9 plus 1. But I can't mount an optic on it, which I mean, is that super important on a carry gun? No. Very unlikely that you're going to need like a fucking optic if you have to pull and shoot on someone. But in the event that you did, it's ideal. Let's see. But I love my Glock 43. It shoots good. It's like anything less than 16 plus 1 is stupid. I mean, I'm talking about for an everyday carry, dude. And the only everyday carry that's small like that has that capacity is the SIG, the P320 Max, I think. Let me see. I can't remember exactly which one it is. That one is definitely on the list of potential, but like in all honesty, and I've said this every time, when I actually go shoot, I'm like, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you need more than 10 rounds in your everyday carry gun, that is, you're in a fucking serious situation right there. Most of the time when you have to, when someone has to pull and shoot on someone with their everyday carry, it's like within 7 feet or something like that. Here. Let's all look together, you guys. I've already made this live stream way too long to where if I actually prioritize people watching my live streams, you have to keep it under a certain amount of time because no one clicks on any videos that are 2 hours long. But I wanted to hang out with you guys longer, so and talk about guns. Here we go. P365 macro. This is the one that I was talking about. Because this one carries 17 rounds. It's not super pretty, but it's small and it carries 17. You can mount an optic on it. It is how long is the barrel? The barrel's 3.7. That's actually a little big, dude. It is a little bit big. I don't know. The whole point is something slim. What's this one? P365. So this one has, how long is this barrel? 4.3. Who is this one for? It's like a weird, I guess this is like similar to a Glock 19 maybe. Anyway, most of the enforcers are too dumb to even understand the law and the unlawful legal system. I don't know what that means. Better to have and not need than need. Exactly. I'm all set up now. I've got tourniquets. I've got tourniquet in my car, tourniquet in my like shooting bag where like if we go to the range, I've got a tourniquet in my jiu-jitsu bag. So like, I don't know. That was one of those things that like when Tim Kennedy said it, I'm like, that's smart, you know. Slim, then add an optic. That doesn't make sense. Huh? What do you mean? I don't understand. I don't understand what that means. But yeah, I'm probably gonna do a Hellcat with like the small one. I think it's 3.1 inch barrel. I love Springfields. I think Springfield makes fantastic guns. I've really and I like a lot of the time, like the Springfield XD. I think now, I don't know, because I had the original XD, it was super old, but like I think it's now the like XD Mod 2 or whatever, have such a smooth stock trigger, dude. I love that trigger. The XDS has a different trigger system that I don't like quite as much, but 454 Red Hawk Alaskan. I'm not going to get a revolver today, but 454, but I'm curious. Let's see. Ooh. Oh yeah. It shoots 454 Casull or 44. Dude, I don't even know what a 480 Ruger is. I know 454 Casull is a fucking massive bullet, though. That shit's crazy. Like, what the hell do you even need that for? You know what I mean? It's like I know. Canic, I have the gun I got most recent is I'll show you, is the TTI, the combat, the Terran Tactical Combat one. This is the one I just got this recently. It's like my competition gun, and it came with the optic mounted on it. It's made by the same people. Terran Tactical are the ones that like trained Keanu Reeves for John Wick, and they make the Sand Viper and all these other like really, really vicious but very expensive guns. Like this one's not, like the Sand Viper is like I think $8,500, and this one is this. It's like with the optic, I think it's like $1,100 or something. But I did see afterwards, like it has a compensator on it, but I saw a video with a dude who was comparing a bunch of guns with compensators. And he said that he loves this gun, but he said that this is the least effective compensator on any of them. Dude, Canik's stock trigger is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Like I'm pretty sure that this one has an upgraded trigger, but on the identical, the one that's closest to it, that's not the Terran Tactical one, and has the original Canik trigger on it. I'm actually not necessarily convinced that I don't like that one better. They're so clean. Those things are, I mean, yeah, you're 100% right. The Canik stock trigger in their upgraded ones, not necessarily in their, like in their smaller ones, but definitely in that top level of theirs, the triggers are unbelievable. But in fairness, the actual best trigger stock are 1911s, but carrying a 1911 is a whole different thing. I wish that I felt comfortable carrying a 1911 because I have a Kimber Ultra Carry that's 45 with a laser, and I don't know. There's something about having it cocked and locked, even though the safety's on, but you have to like train pulling and then pulling the safety off. But man, that trigger is so light. It just, I don't know, freaks me out a little bit. I think it's just Canik. I could be wrong though. My dad just got the Hellcat and he doesn't love it, but his reasoning for not loving it is kind of non-applicable to like why I would get it. So, dude, I know, believe me, you are exactly right. I absolutely do want the Staccato. I just was texting my buddy, like one of my best friends, his birthday is the day before mine. And I was telling him he should get that. Like, he's like, see, I literally just, this is last night. But it's fucking $2,800. And that's too much. I can't justify spending. I don't know. It's also pretty thick, dude. It's like, I want it slim like a Glock 43. It's not that slim, but it's also too expensive. All right, guys. You guys are the best. I'm going to beat the street now. And I will check the comments for people who call me a grape apologist, because I can certainly expect that anytime you're all, hey, I don't think that this guy actually raped the girl. They're all, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. Anyway, you guys are the best, dude. Thank you for everybody with the super chats. I appreciate you guys. Peace.